Hello everybody, it's me, GhostCritic. Oh, welcome to another comic book review video. It's a change of day. If you've not been around for a while, you may notice this is now coming out on a Monday and not a Sunday, so I can have the whole weekend to myself for a change. I hope that's suitable to everyone, and if not, tough. This week was a bit of a strange week. There's, I guess you could say, a couple of changes. For those of you who've been watching my videos for a while, you know that I review and give you my thoughts and opinions on all the comics I picked up last Wednesday, and I put them in order of kind of least favourite to my pick of the week. And to be honest, there really wasn't a pick of the week, and that might surprise a lot of you, given that what I picked up last week and what I was most excited for. One of the reasons, and this is the kind of second change to this particular video, this will only happen when this particular title comes out and their offshoots, but I am not going to include the Sandman in my full-length comic book review video, because basically I'm going to do another video show the week after every Friday when an issue of this comes out. So I'm giving myself basically a week to digest and lovingly pore over what I hope will be every issue of this new Sandman universe that Neil Gaiman, I guess, is kind of curating in a way. I'm going to make a separate video for each issue. It's kind of an apology in some ways to all those people who have been asking me about the Sandman podcast that I started. I didn't really anticipate how much hard work that was going to be, and I really should have set myself a goal of getting probably a trade done, a trade length of videos done before I started putting them out, because it is a lot of work, and it's just kind of all got on top of me with work and really not having the energy to do it when I get home. So I thought, to appease those people and have something a little bit different, a little bit new to put up on my channel, yes, every issue of this new run and all the offshoot titles, I'll be doing a separate video. So this came out obviously this week, last Wednesday, so I'm giving myself basically a week and a half to do a video for each issue, so you'll be getting it the following Friday. So this Friday coming, you will hear my thoughts and opinions, and I'll give you all the little tidbits and hopefully some little secrets that are going on that you might not know about in that video. I hope that makes sense, because I think I even confused myself. So yes, look forward to that on this coming Friday. So for the books that I do have this week, as I said, they were all okay, and some of them were better than others, obviously, but I didn't really have a pick of the week. So we'll start, really, as we always do, with the ones that I'm most least liked. I really should start this again, but I'm not going to bother. Number 33 of X-Men Blue from Colin Bunn. And I think I said this last time and probably on Wednesday, but this basically is just me finishing off this run, because I think it finishes at 35 or 36. So I just thought, for the sake of 3 more issues, let's just bear the tolerable pain of this, because it's kind of not done what I hoped it would do, and these ancillary titles that aren't like the major big kind of, I suppose X-Men Red is the biggest one at the moment, I suppose. It just gets merged into too many other things and doesn't get to be its own entity. However, with this issue, the last storyline we had, the whole Mother Vine turning everyone into mutants, that was stopped in the end by our X-Men, not our X-Men, because they were off in space at the time, if I remember. But members of the good X-Men team, because there's a kind of bad one, an evil one at the moment going around with Dakin and all those. The Mother Vine thing got stopped, and Magneto in one part of the story disappeared into time. He used his time platform to escape being defeated by Havoc and his kind of group of evil mutants that were spreading the Mother Vine, and we never really got to find out where he went and why he came back so angry, and where he is now trying to take down Emma Frost for one. And this is the issue where we find out what's been going on. Where did he go in time, and the beginnings, I guess, of why he's come back so fervently. I guess he's back to his evil ways in some respects. I guess it's a matter of perspective. But he does go into the future. That's where he's been, some 19 years in the future, and this kind of thing always makes me laugh with the X-Men, and they've done it so many times in X-Men history. Whatever titles, they're always hopping about in time where things are really bad, and then we come back to the present, and this is what they're trying to stop from happening in the future. So you can basically do whatever you want there. You can make it as utopian or as apocalyptic as you want, because generally it won't come to pass, because whatever's happening in the present is there to stop that from happening. But Magneto does go to the future 19 years ahead of our present time to find an apocalyptic planet, pretty much. Where Reavers, there's a new virus, and it's the Reavers virus, we find out, has ravaged the world. There's a small kind of unit of mutants that are hiding out, trying to escape the clutches and the murderous hands of said Reavers. And they see Magneto coming back as their saviour, as he was one of, I guess, or the mutant that stopped this virus from happening, despite the I guess there's almost a kind of sense of a kind of a genocide going on from the big flash page that we get in here, which tells us all about this Reavers virus that actually, I don't believe it's actually happened in our time yet. So but to kill this virus going on, it has to kill the actual hosts as well. So a lot of people died in this outbreak. But Magneto basically kind of saved the day, but he's got these feelings of guilt, which is kind of transferred from the present day when he used his powers and killed a bunch of the people already affected by the Mother Vine virus in the present day. I tell you, time messing around all over the place, it gets a little bit confusing. I mean, it's a cool little story, I guess, but it's just happening too late in the day for this title, because basically we know it's going to be wrapped up. There's, by the end of this series, and there's going to be no, I guess, kind of fallout from that at the end, and that just kind of disheartens me in a way. As I said, the title has never really been allowed to be its own thing. It's always been pulled into, you know, all the kind of events and crossovers that have been going on in the X universe, the Marvel universe. It always happens. I've seen it time and time again. It shouldn't annoy me as much as it does, but that's comics for you. Let's move on to Daredevil, issue 606 from Charles Soule. This was an odd kind of tale. I guess it's kind of falling out of the back of Mayor Fisk's storyline that kind of ended at the last issue. And we have Daredevil doing what he kind of is known for, and going around Devil's Kitchen, not solving crimes, but breaking up crimes. And in this issue, we have Hammerhead, one of the kind of mafia type bosses, I guess, wanting to make a bit of a name for himself, and having this ludicrous idea, and this is kind of all set up by kind of the Daredevil narrative that goes through it. He's going to rob a bank, and that seems very kind of a kind of an archaic type of crime these days, with, you know, online hacking and all that kind of stuff. But Hammerhead basically wants people to notice him. He wants people to realise that he is a kind of true villainous threat. And is trying to get Daredevil's attention by breaking into this big bank safe and trying to get off with the money. And to a point, he almost, as usual, this kind of hero-villain fight, he almost takes down Daredevil. You have all these people with all their mobile phones filming all, hence the cover, and showing and kind of fulfilling Hammerhead's wishes and wants, that he wants to show that he is the big man now of Devil's Kitchen, and he is the one who is going to, you know, be running the underbelly of crime in New York City. But as always, Daredevil has a way out of this with the help of one of the bank staff, I guess. I don't know whether he was a security guard or something like that, but foolish, kind of trying to get out of it, and then Daredevil has his option to take out everyone and save all the hostages and then look like the big hero. And then you have this really kind of odd bit at the end. You have Daredevil kind of swinging around, looking for more crime, and he talks about what was it? It was something about like an old friend to make his triumphant return, which kind of made you think that Daredevil was going to bring out some sort of alter ego to find out some information from the criminal underbelly, because we move into a bar where all the villains hang out, the bar with no name. And we see this guy having a drink, and he looks incredibly like Matt Murdock. But this is Mike Murdock, apparently his twin. Now, I'm sure I read something like this before in this, so it's not like an altogether new story, character, a sibling, I guess, that suddenly turned up out of nowhere. I'm racking my brains now where he's come from, but he's definitely been mentioned or been seen before. And so you have this kind of last panel of Daredevil and Mike Murdock meeting, and it was just an odd issue that was something and nothing. I kind of get to the point now with this title that I think Charles Soule should potentially move on, give someone else a shot at writing Daredevil now. And as I've said numerous times, I would like it to get more of the villains having, you know, the villains of old, even if they are kind of silly, but you know, in this modern age they can make them more deadly, like Stiltman, Owl, the Purple Man. Who else has Daredevil been up again in the past? There's a lot. Typhoid Mary would be great to have back properly as a villain on her own. And just some good kind of superhero, supervillain action, rather than throwing in a rather verbose, you know, the lawyery courtroom style that Charles Soule has been using a lot of late. I just want some good old action that is throughout a storyline, rather than big chunks of talking in court and in lawyers' offices, etc. But Daredevil is a solid, you know, title on my pull list, and is very unlikely to be going anywhere anytime soon. I just needed a little bit more from this current run from Charles Soule right now. It's another Marvel title. It's Amazing Spider-Man issue number 3, and again, this is a title that I have been loving. Okay, there's only been 3 issues of it, but the first 2 have been fantastic. I've really loved this kind of fresh but nostalgic feeling interpretation by new creative team of Nick Spencer and Ryan Ottley. But again, this is another issue that just had me feeling kind of wanting more. One of those kind of issues that has more questions than answers for me, and just left me a little bit frustrated, but there was still enough in this issue that it was slightly better than the last 2 I've just been talking about. We saw at the end of last issue Spider-Man and Peter Parker as 2 kind of separate entities, and we're all like, what the hell's that all about? And of course this is explained in this issue. The Lizard, Dr. Connor's new science experiment that he's doing has affected Peter Parker in some way, and you kind of got a clone type issue going on. We all know we love a good clone story, but the kind of, I guess, the twist in this now is that Peter Parker, as Peter Parker, does now not have any of his powers, and they've all been kind of transferred to this clone Spider-Man. And I just feel that Peter Parker should be a bit more worried about this, especially at the very beginning, though we kind of see him, I guess, taking a little bit of advantage of this in some respects. So now he can be a quote-unquote normal guy, living a normal life, going out playing bowling, being with his girlfriend, having the opportunity now to go back to school and get his degree or whatever, his certificate. And then this clone Spider-Man can go off and he can do all the Spider-Man things that normally Peter would have to sneak off and do, and that would mess up his own personal life. But it's just it just feels too easy, and obviously there is a twist in this. This is a science kind of experiment by Dr. Connors that's not been tried and tested on a human. He's just done it on mice, and that hasn't particularly gone all that well, and then the kind of worry starts kicking in. But is it too late? As our Spider-Man is off fighting big sentinels. I guess the crux of this story is that by transferring his powers to this clone, the idea, the kind of the humanity of it, the kind of responsibility, you know, with great power comes great responsibility, is not instilled in this clone. So this clone has no qualms about what is going on around him while he fights this big sentinel, and so it causes, you know, devastation everywhere, which I guess is only going to cause Peter more harm than good when the inevitable happens and he gets his power back, because we'll have the whole city hating him again. There seems to be this big push to go back, perhaps maybe too far in Spider-Man's history, where he is classed as, I guess, a more hated superhero, vigilante type character, rather than, you know, being appreciated for everything he does. You know, he's lost his job at the paper, he obviously lost his teaching job, and the the superior Spider-Man Doc Ock storyline that goes with that. He may have got back Mary Jane, but how long is that going to last? We don't know. So we seem to be going further and further back in the kind of the drama, the kind of soap opera-esque downtrodden Peter Parker of old, which is a great way to tell a story, but as I said, have they gone kind of too far back in that direction? It feels like they're just now going to start retreading old ground. One other thing before I finish with this issue, we saw from the very first cover all the kind of villains that clearly Nick Spencer and Ryan Ottley are going to be using, and the first page on this does seem to be setting up another villain coming back into the Spider universe, as we're kind of, I guess we're in some sort of African continent, as we see a big hunter killing an elephant and wanting to take a bit of a selfie with it, but his guide gets a knife thrown at him and stabbed to death with it. So I get a feeling, is Craven in the background getting ready to make his move? How is that going to happen? How's Spidey going to get involved with all that? Still a lot of fun, very entertaining. Ryan Ottley on the artwork here is fantastic. It's a great fit for him. He really does all our characters justice, and another title that I don't feel will be going anywhere as long as we have these two on for a while. Let's move on to a DC title finally, and we have The Flash issue number 52 from Joshua Williamson. And I was surprised how much I really enjoyed this, though the start had me somewhat, not confused, but obviously my knowledge of The Flash is sparse to say the least, history-wise. But, you know, picking it up after that was fine. We have him starting off in the House of Heroes, where we have every kind of different version of Flash. Right at the very beginning we get a little bit of a shot of that multiversity map that has been still doing the rounds since Grant Morrison's run on those single one-shots, where he brought that map into it. So DC is still carrying this on, and he's basically asking all the different versions of Flash throughout the multiverse if they know anything about these these different forces that have turned up. What was it? The Strength Force, the Sage Force, and the Still Force. But none of them know any of it. But then none of their universes have had the force barrier broken, so perhaps that's why they don't know anything about it. And they give their advice, and again, and this is a bit frustrating for me given what's been going on in the last few storylines. He doesn't seem to take their advice and not so much dismisses it, but has his own idea of what he wants to do, and he thinks science is going to solve this mystery and how these forces have appeared. One of the kind of different versions of Flash talks about a Flash quest that they all have seemed to have been on, but Barry hasn't. But Barry doesn't think he has the time for this quest, because he has other responsibilities, or so he thinks. And it's going back again to that idea that he thinks he's the only one that can protect Central City. You know, we've got Wally out there, we've got both of them, the young Kid Flash and Wally West, the older character. And it just annoys me that this character, and I know it's the way Joshua Williamson is writing it, so we can kind of put it on his doorstep, put the blame on his doorstep, that he won't move on, he won't learn from experience. He has to kind of let go of this control and allow other people to you know, look after things while, you know, and I get the feeling that this is going to be a future storyline where we're going to have the Flash quest, and we've had Flash War. What about a Flash quest, and what all that will entail? The big bulk, however, of this story is the Trickster, and him kind of giving evidence about what has been going on in Iron Heights, and it's all very hush hush. And he's in hiding with a bunch of detectives and cops and stuff, but someone's found them, and we get these kind of winged sentinels. What did they call themselves? Oh, para-angels, that's it. They come crashing through the window to take him away, and only through the efforts of the Flash and our Commander Cold from the future manages to take them down, but Trickster escapes, only to be swallowed up mysteriously from the ground as it opens up and drags him in. What is that all about? Well, we do find out at the end of the issue, just in case, because I don't remember warning you all about spoilers, but spoilers, this place where he has been kind of sucked into the ground is a point of strength of the Strength Force, and as Commander Cold and Flash team back up to locate the Trickster, find out where he escaped to, the Trickster emerges from the ground, and he's basically all hulked out. He's properly buffed up, and he is now a huge version of himself, and he isn't going to be messing around anymore, and he's going to get people to take himself seriously. But I had a heap of fun with this. It felt really, it flowed really well. You had, you know, the hints from the House of Heroes part right at the very beginning. You've got the relationship between Barry and Iris, and them kind of living together now, and the expectations that both of them have of each other. And then you have the kind of uneasy alliance between Commander Cold and the Flash. Flash is not as trusting as perhaps Iris feels about Commander Cold. He is, after all, you know, he may come from the future, but his descendants, I guess you'd call them, were rogues. They are his kind of villains, his rogues gallery of villains, so there is that element of distrust, and this is all building up, and it's great stuff, and I'm just loving the Flash all over again. My one and only title from Image this week was Maestro's issue number 7, and this is the final issue of this, I guess you call it a mini-series. Had a very long break and we all thought it wasn't going to come back, but there was a little bit of a kind of cliffhanger at the end of issue 6, where one of our baddies had fulfilled his dream of basically extinguishing all life from the universe, leaving just himself. Or did he? Because this spell that he used to do this dastardly deed, there was a little bit of a clause in there that no one of the kind of, I guess, the Maestro's bloodline would be affected from it. And so of course we have Will, in all this kind of Maestro gloriousness, come to face our villain of the piece, and then we get the backstory of this villain and why he turned out to be so evil, and the comparisons between the two of them are obviously very similar. The father figure being, you know, quite the tyrant, not being proud of their sons. Only, you know, Will was exiled to Earth, and our kind of demon was, our demonic kind of villain was thrown into basically universe of emptiness, so it's kind of going back home for him. However, through a little trickery, through technology, Will had taken pictures from the book of unmaking and I guess making, so he could use a spell through his phone to save everyone and get everyone back. But the hilarious thing about this, I guess in a kind of way, is that, you know, we have Will trying to make things, remake everything, but he wants everything to be better. But this power from this spell is kind of making him a bit of power crazy and hungry, and he wants everything his way, and people will do what he wants, and it basically overtakes him, and he's even had enough of his mother berating him, and I guess his kind of girlfriend, I suppose. And just as he seems to going to be completely wipe out the planet and remake it exactly how it was, his phone runs out of battery and stops the spell, and he kind of comes back to himself and realises what an idiot he's made of himself. And everything is kind of like a bit of a happily ever after, wrapping up this Maestro story. The series as a whole has been fun, heavy kind of on the adult side. This isn't any for like you young kiddies, the youngsters out there, but it's been a great kind of story about basically family, throwing some magic, some kind of supernatural goings on, some demons and all that kind of stuff, and just a young man in the midst of it making lots of mistakes and trying to get out of it. And it beautifully drawn and illustrated and coloured by Steve Scrose, Dave Stewart and the Phonographics team. A nice little title that for now has ended. So we finished this week's video off not with a pick of the week as such, but it was certainly the one that I was most looking forward to having back in my life. Fantastic Four, when it comes to comics, is my heart. It's what I collect the most of, what I look out for, what I love rereading. You'll have just recently seen a new instalment of my collection videos where I'm showing off all my collection of Fantastic Four that I have right now, doing it basically decade by decade. So it's great to have this book, this title back after such a long hiatus. We haven't seen the Fantastic Four since the end of Secret Wars. And it was just too obvious to make this my pick of the week, because it's not the best, but it will be. It will be. Because I just felt with this first issue from new creators Dan Slott with Sarah Pichelli, Simone Bianchi, Scotty Young and Marty Garcia, that does sound like a lot of artists, but you've got the main story, you've got a little backup story, and then you've got a final page with the Impossible Man, which is hilarious. But this particular issue, as entertaining and as grateful as I am to have it back, felt like it should have been the last issue of Marvel 2-in-1, and then the next issue, Fantastic Four, proper issue number 1, would have led into or kind of out of that Marvel 2-in-1 issue. I'm guessing Marvel kind of messed up on the kind of the timeline and the solicitations. I quite understand why this had to come out last week, because it was how many years? From that week was would have seen 67 years when the very first issue of Fantastic Four came out. I'm sure it was 67 years. So, you know, they kind of wanted to make a big deal of it. Obviously, I don't think they could have waited another 3 years to bump it up to 70 years without a Fantastic Four book, because I would have gone crazy. This, if you've never read a Fantastic Four book before, and that boggles my mind, in some respects this is a good, nice jumping on point, because you know you get the heart of what Fantastic Four is about. It's about this family of individuals that have been through so much and have now been separated, and the pain, the anguish, the hopefulness in some respects for the characters, the devastation for others, that the Fantastic Four are no more. And it's kind of like the hopefulness of Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, when he sees a kind of flare go up, the kind of Fantastic Four sign, and he thinks they're back, and this rush by him to go to where this flame, this torch message has come up, hoping that he's going to see Reed and Sue back, and then the kind of the defeat in his demeanour when he realises it's just members of the Yancey Street gang. It's lovely to have all these kind of not necessarily Easter eggs, because they're right there full in front of you, but these moments of Fantastic Four history being used and building back up what I guess used to be, you know, a huge flagship title for Marvel before, you know, X-Men, before Avengers, and now, you know, it's the Avengers now. Hopefully we can get Fantastic Four back up at the head of the kind of Marvel franchises, because they are a great team. There's some nice surprises. It's setting up so much stuff. The Thing finally kind of reveals to Alyssa. No, it's not Alyssa. Yes, it is Alyssa Masters. That he knows, or he thinks he knows, because we know better. There's a Fantastic Four book out, but he knows that Reed and Sue are dead, and he's been holding on to this secret. He's been keeping it from Johnny all the way through Marvel 2 and 1. And that's kind of an almost relief from him, and lets him move on to the point where we find him proposing to Alicia, and of course something has got to happen at the end of this. Nothing. There's no big villain in here in the main big story for them to go fight up against. It's about them dealing with the separation issues, and it's not till the end of the main story where Johnny is looking up at the skies, just hoping beyond hope that there is a sign out there that they are alive. Just let them know. And you get a small snippet of Reed and Sue, which is just, it just tingles. They are alive, they're out there somewhere, and they are going to be sending a signal which hopefully they will see. And of course that's how the issue ends. There's a huge four up in the space skyways above the whole of Earth, and everyone's just looking up going, it's about to start. We're gonna get somewhere now. We're getting the Fantastic Four back. There are, as I said, kind of 2 small and 1 page-long backup stories here. Of course, you can't have the Fantastic Four without Doom. Yes, he's got a bit of a backup story. Well, obviously, I know he's kind of. Well, actually, I don't really know what's going on with Doom right now. I know, obviously, he's in Marvel 2 in 1, but there was wasn't he the infamous Iron Man? And I don't know if it's changed again, but his face was unscarred and he was this very handsome young gentleman again. But he's basically back in Latveria, taking on the mantle of doom again, and taking back his home. You can't have Fantastic Four without Doom, and I'm sure he has got some devilish schemes to challenge the Fantastic Four once they get back together. And yes, those waiting for that moment in this issue for them together, you know, we were slightly disappointed, but it's humorous enough. As the last panel, we've got the Impossible Man speaking for us, telling us how gypped he felt not seeing them back together in this first issue. But I guess the Marvel Comics editor is just going to inform him that yes, we're going to see them all back together in the next issue, and I can't wait. Great jumping on point, I would say, for anyone who has been maybe a lapsed Fantastic Four reader, has never read a Fantastic Four book before. My God, how has that happened in your lifetime? And just jump on this new great ride. Dan Slott seems to be doing an okay job. I know people have had a little bit of a problem with him staying on Spider-Man for so long, but we'll see what he can do with the FF. Love this book back. And that's it for this week. Thank you all for watching. Tune in this Friday to hear all the ins and outs of the first issue of the one-shot Sandman universe. I'll have a video dedicated specifically just for that. This coming Wednesday obviously will be all those new comic books that have come out that I'll be showing off to you. Give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any more of my videos, and comment down there. I'm doing my best to reply to everyone. If I can't, you'll at least get a heart, or you'll get a like, a thumbs up. I'm always around. I'm here for you. Until next time, bye bye. Enjoy your comics.